Welcome into College Football Smothered and Covered. My name is Barrett Salee. I appreciate you guys checking out the show. It is NFL Draft Day, at least the first round of the NFL Draft. And so we're excited about that. Obviously, we cover college football primarily, but the NFL Draft is tonight. And while I'm not going to sit here and tell you about team needs or anything like that, it is awesome to see players who, I don't know, I've covered for 5, 6 years, 7 years in some cases at some of these camps. It's nice to see them realize their professional dreams. So that's what I take out of the NFL Draft. It's pretty cool to see that stuff happen. We will talk about BetOnline odds for the NFL Draft coming up in just a bit. Jaden Rashada, his transfer recruitment lasted all of about, 5 seconds. Now he's committed to Georgia. We'll get to that as well. And of course, Reggie Bush getting his Heisman Trophy back. That happened yesterday. Was a little busy yesterday, a little busy this morning. That's why we're on a little bit later than normal. Had to go get a physical. So we will talk about Reggie Bush as well. But like I say, every single episode, please please subscribe, give us 5 stars, give us 1 stars, write a positive review, write a negative review. I don't really care. In fact, if it's negative, I want to see that. I love constructive criticism. I think there should be more constructive criticism in this world. We don't have to be yelling at each other all the time. So if you don't like something, let me know. We'll try to fix it. Our crew here at College Football Smothered and Covered love to have that kind of feedback. And college football, of course, the most under-covered sport in all the land. We don't need to hear about Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, all of these people yelling at each other. You deserve college football content. College football is the second most popular sport in the world, or at least in the country, I should say. And so go listen to Josh Pate. Go listen to everybody across the Believe Network. Go listen to Andy Staples. Do all of that, because sometimes you might not like what I say. They might have a better opinion. Sometimes it's vice versa. It's cool to take in that content. And look, I appreciate being a part of that content. Now, a treat for you guys tomorrow. South Carolina coach Shane Beamer will be joining the show. That'll go up at 10:30 Eastern time tomorrow morning, Friday morning. So stay tuned for that. April 26th at 10:30, we will have Shane Beamer on the show talking a little bit about the NFL Draft, his players, including Spencer Rattler and Xavier Legette. We'll also get into the transfer portal and also preview the 2024 Gamecocks. And while we're on the topic of South Carolina, go check this shirt out. Forever to Thee. This is from Breaking Tea. Go to breakingtea.com/smothered and covered. That's breakingtea.com/smothered and covered. You can get this. They've got shirts from all over the college football spectrum. And something like this, Forever to Thee, a slogan for South Carolina. They've got that. They've got that for basically every single college out there. But if something viral happens, if a big moment happens, if you want to wear that moment, Breaking Tea will have you covered. A shirt will pop up on Breaking Tea just like that. So go to breakingtea.com/smothered and covered. You can check out all the gear that they have over at Breaking Tea. All right, it is Thursday, April 25th, first round of the NFL Draft coming up from Detroit. Don't know why it's there. Should be in Vegas every year, but here we are. Now, the odds-on favorite to earn the number 1 draft pick, obviously, is Caleb Williams. The likelihood of that happening is about as likely as the sun rising tomorrow, so we don't need to get into some in-depth conversation about that. However, BetOnline has an interesting prop bet out there, several interesting prop bets out there. This one, if you're listening and not watching, for the number 2 overall pick, Jayden Daniels, the odds-on favorite to be the number 2 overall pick, 1-5 at -500. Then we can go on down the list if you're just listening. Drake Maye at 13-4, JJ McCarthy at 10-1, Caleb Williams at 100. Caleb Williams at 100. Marvin Harrison at 100, Bo Nix at 150, Malik Neighbors and Michael Penix as well. Caleb Williams at 101 is absolutely fantastic. It's not going to happen, but if you want to throw $1 on it and win $100, I mean, sure, why not? But having Jayden Daniels number 2 is the right call. And I know there's this sort of idea that there's this paralysis by analysis and that Drake Maye is this draft darling and all this other stuff. Let's not overcomplicate things. Yeah, the odds are not very good. The value is not very good. If you pick Jayden Daniels at -500, you're not going to make a lot of money, but you'll make some because A, that's going to happen. And B, who else would you pick? Drake Maye? Absolutely not. Jayden Daniels is a guy who I think isn't appreciated enough. And yeah, he won the Heisman Trophy. And yeah, he put together one of the most remarkable offensive seasons in all of college football. And that's all well and good, but he's not just a runner. Go back and look at his stats. He had no help at Arizona State. Then COVID hit. It was just a mess, his 3-year career out in Tempe. He goes to LSU and he's fine. He's a difference maker. Yes, he can run. And yes, that opens up passing windows downfield. I don't think anybody is surprised by that. But his accuracy downfield, his arm strength, his ability to throw changeups, that's all there. But the one thing that sort of gets lost in all of the Jayden Daniels talk is pressure, right? Now, LSU was more or less out of the SEC West race, late October. So he didn't necessarily have the pressure to win a championship in 2023 like he did in 2022. He won that championship in 2022, but the pressure he faced in 2023, I think, is more important. Should be, I'm not saying I'm not a scout, should be more important than the pressure he faced in 2022. Why? The dude had to put up every single one of those numbers, like to the yard, because his defense was horrific. So if you're an NFL team, if you're a GM, if you're a scout, and you're looking at Jayden Daniels, do you want to see him be part of a piece of the offense, a big piece of the offense, but a piece of a unit that is successful and leads the team to a championship? Or do you want to pick the guy who shoulders the load of the entire team, right? What's more important? Being a part of a roster that wins a championship, or literally putting a team on your shoulders? Not literally, figuratively putting a team on your shoulders just to win games. Yeah, it's not a championship, but just to win games. That pressure is unbelievable. The pressure Jayden Daniels felt last year from the moment toe met leather in the opening game, it was like, wow, he's got to be Superman. He's got to be Superman. And everybody knew it. Every defensive coordinator knew it. So they tried everything they possibly could just to slow him down a little bit. Because if they slowed him down a little bit, they'd win a game. They'd win easily because that defense wasn't stopping anybody. Anybody. So this is a no-brainer for me at the number 2 pick. Jayden Daniels, even at minus 500, is there. Now, the Drake Maye thing. If you've listened to this show, if you've watched this show, you know that I think Drake Maye is going to get a GM fired. Drake Maye is going to get a GM fired. I am fully on board with this idea that Drake Maye will get a GM fired. The fact that he's second on this list is crazy to me. But check this one out, because you look at the number 3, he's minus 300, 1 to 3 to be the third quarterback taken, the third pick in the NFL draft. Minus 300. JJ McCarthy, 17 to 4 at plus 425. Jayden Daniels at 9 to 2. That'd be crazy. Then Harrison, Caleb Williams, Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors. Sorry, I chuckle at that. It's funny. Michael Penix, you can't see. Bo Nix is at 150. But Drake Maye at minus 300 and JJ McCarthy at plus 425. Why? Why in the hell is JJ McCarthy not considered a better prospect than Drake Maye? Drake Maye against conference opponents last season. So for North Carolina, when it mattered, because they were not a playoff caliber team. So when it mattered against conference opponents, Drake Maye finished 7th in completion percentage. He was middle of the road in passer rating. The dude is nothing more than an average quarterback in a bad conference. Yeah, he's got the physical tools. You know who also had the physical tools? Mitch Trubisky. How'd that work out? And for J.J. McCarthy, what more do you want him to do? No, there's not a ton of tape on him, but he's a winner. He did enough to not put himself on tape because they were busy winning. And when we needed J.J. McCarthy to be a difference maker, when Michigan absolutely had to have it in that Rose Bowl against Alabama, he did it. What's the problem? There shouldn't be a problem. There shouldn't be a problem. So I do have a problem. I have a problem now. I have a problem with Drake Maye being over J.J. McCarthy, but I think more importantly, I have a problem with J.J. McCarthy slander. What the hell do you want the guy to do? He's done everything. He's done absolutely everything that's been asked of him. And yet, he's considered the fourth best quarterback in this class. I don't get it, man. I don't get it at all. Now, odds on the number 3 overall pick, which I think is still interesting. Bo Nix at 150-1. He's sneaking in the first round. He's going to sneak into the first round. I guarantee you there will be a team. And I know Michael Penix. I love him. He's great. And I don't think injury should be that big of a deal. But the knee is a problem. Now, Bo Nix has injuries too. Not as many as Michael Penix. I don't think it matters. And if you listen to the show, injuries happen to every player every single year. But there will be injury concerns with Michael Penix more than Bo Nix. And so that I think there will be a team that sees Bo Nix 25th, 26th, 27th available. It's just kind of sitting there. Yeah, let's go ahead and pull that trigger. And I think Bo Nix will be fine. I think he'll be a good quarterback at the NFL level. Speaking of quarterbacks, Jaden Rashada. His high school recruitment was interesting. I think that's a way to put it. Interesting. Now he's off to Georgia, commits to the Georgia Bulldogs. And this comes after a year where he was thrust into action. That shouldn't be any part of your referendum, your decision-making on whether he's a good quarterback one way or the other. He's still a redshirt freshman coming in. The guy can play. Last year at Arizona State, he was decent through the air and bad on a bad team. He was good enough running to show that he can be more than a willing runner. So at Georgia, what's he going to do? That is a question to me that I cannot answer because I don't know how that staff will use him. Now, with Stetson, who was mobile, they incorporated a lot of that stuff in. With Carson Beck, they don't do that. So what are you going to get out of Jaden Rashada? Well, he better be able to sling it across the middle because that's what Georgia does a lot of. But what's interesting to me is that he conceivably could only have 1 year of tape before going to the NFL. Could be a redshirt sophomore when he starts and then be gone. I kind of go back and forth on whether that's attractive or not, because you also hide some flaws in addition to showing your strengths. But if you're successful as a redshirt freshman in your only season as a starter, or first year as a starter, then NFL scouts will be attracted to that. But that's kind of why I am surprised. And look, I don't know what went on behind the scenes in form of NIL and anything like that. But he was interested in Mississippi State. He was interested in Auburn. That to me is why would you not go to one of those places where you probably will start? And yes, Auburn fans, he would start over Peyton Thorne. Why not go to one of those places, get 2 years of tape under your belt, and then move on? If it was me, that would make more sense. But Kirby Smart has this knack of convincing players, hey, sitting is still not the worst thing to do. Brock Vandagriff last year, I was convinced Brock Vandagriff was going to transfer. Obviously, he did this past offseason. But everybody knew Carson Beck was going to be the starting quarterback last spring. And Brock stuck around. Maybe there's something in the water in Athens where Kirby can magically tell these guys, hey, you know what? You don't need to play all that much football. I don't know. I don't get it. I do not get it. But big for Georgia. Huge for Georgia to get Jaden Rashada. I mean, that's a huge get. So we'll see what happens. I will answer your questions a little bit later. Whew, a lot of you already watching across all platforms, almost 1,000. So if you have any comments, leave them in the chat. Doesn't matter where you're watching. I will get to them at the end of the show. Before we do that, Reggie Bush, the man with the high school tape, he's getting his Heisman back. Now, this was yesterday. Obviously, I did not get to it. Like I said, had some issues with some other stuff, so I had to get some stuff taken care of. Get the Braves podcast taken care of for the AJC. You can subscribe to that one too. But Reggie Bush gets his Heisman back. And you can read his quote, and this is from the press release. Personally, I'm thrilled to reunite with my fellow Heisman winners and be part of the storied legacy of the Heisman Trophy, and I'm honored to return. I'm happy to return to the Heisman Trophy, said Bush. I also look forward to working together with the Heisman Trust to enhance the values and missions of the organization. This should have happened a long, long time ago. In fact, I would say the Heisman should have never been taken away from Reggie Bush. If you listen to, and look, there are three sides to every story. I mean, I know people say there's two sides to every story. No, there's three. There's one side, there's two sides, and then there's the actual truth, right? And so Reggie Bush says that, this house in San Diego or suburban San Diego was essentially that the owner did not pay the mortgage. So his parents had to move to a different house. And, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing or whatever. And then the NCAA says that USC hooked it up and all, whatever. In the middle, does not matter in reality, though, because this kind of thing, yes, it's illegal, but for the Heisman Trust to take away his Heisman Trophy for something like that, where I think all parties could agree that this was not a black and white issue. There was a massive gray area that, USC might have known about. USC probably should have reported, but was way more complicated than it was being portrayed in the media. And for those of you who are young and don't remember this, I mean, scandal among all scandals. In fact, that Reggie Bush saga almost ended Lane Kiffin's head coaching career like 7 years later when the sanctions were killing USC and yet they fired him on a tarmac, which was completely unfair. But Reggie should have gotten his Heisman Trophy back about 2.5 seconds after they took it from him, because whether you agree with his side or somebody else's side, it's not his responsibility. USC, they went on probation, probably should have gone on probation. But Reggie was playing football. Whether he knew about it or not, Reggie was playing football. Could he be considered ineligible? Yeah. Was he? According to the rules, yeah. You know how many other Heisman Trophy winners should have been deemed ineligible? Pretty much every single one, because the NCAA manual is about as big as the screen that you're watching me on. Or if you're listening, way bigger than the iPhone that you're listening to this on. So, Reggie got popped for being ineligible, and the Heisman Trophy Trust said, we can't have that. But then suddenly now in this new era, it's cool. Like, are we really going to pretend like Johnny Manziel, who kind of got this ball rolling, which is fantastic? We trying to pretend like he was ineligible or was totally eligible? Jameis Winston, Cam Newton. Oh, we're not? Okay, then let's just forget that stuff ever happened. It was insane that it was taken away to begin with. Very happy that sanity prevailed and he got it back. Now, I was not a Heisman voter back in 2005. I have been for 10 years now. I will say unequivocally, I would have still voted for Reggie Bush even after all of this stuff went down, even after he was deemed ineligible, because the people who take advantage of that integrity clause in the Heisman Trust, to me, you're kind of doing it because you're a cause head. Unless there's something blatantly obvious about a player's integrity, look, just ignore it. Just ignore it. And I would have ignored it in Reggie Bush's case. That will do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Appreciate you guys checking things out. Jay Barry in the comments. The draft is finally here. Absolutely, Jay. Very excited to watch what happens Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And South Carolina fans, a reminder, your head coach Shane Beamer will be coming up tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you subscribe, hit that notify button, hit that bell, and spread the word, Carolina fans, because we love talking to Shane. Shane's a great guy, and I promise you, you will be informed and infotained with this interview. Until then, have a great Thursday, everybody.